The doorbell rang at exactly 8:47 a.m. on a Sunday, the kind of precise timing that could only mean bad news. I knew it was Quentin before I even opened the door. After 15 years of marriage, you develop a sixth sense for incoming storms. I'm Willow, and this is the story of how I turned my ex-husband's greed into his worst nightmare. "We need to talk about the house," Quentin said, brushing past me into the foyer, without waiting for an invitation. The morning sun caught his expensive new watch, probably a gift from Avery, his 20-something fiancée. "There's nothing to talk about." I crossed my arms, staying by the door. The divorce settlement was clear. "The house is mine." He ran his fingers along the kitchen counter, the same granite we'd picked out together years ago. "Things change, Willow. I've been talking to my lawyer." My stomach dropped. When Quentin started sentences with "my lawyer," it usually meant trouble, big trouble. "I helped build this place," he continued, his voice taking on that smooth, practiced tone he used in court. "I'm entitled to half its current value, and given the market—" He smiled, all teeth and no warmth. "That's quite a sum." "You're joking." But I knew he wasn't. This was classic Quentin, waiting until the property value skyrocketed before making his move. "I invested just as much as you did," he said, walking into the living room like he still owned the place. "Remember those 60-hour weeks I pulled to afford the custom cabinets you wanted? Remember the affair you had with your paralegal while I was picking out those cabinets?" The words shot out before I could stop them. His jaw tightened. "Ancient history, Willow. I'm here to discuss business." My phone buzzed. A text from Vada. "Still on for brunch?" I ignored it. "Get out," I said quietly. "You have two options." He pulled out an envelope, setting it on the coffee table. "You can either buy me out at fair market value, or we can force a sale and split the proceeds. My lawyer's details are inside." "The judge awarded me the house, Quentin. It's done." He laughed, that condescending chuckle that used to make me feel 2 inches tall. "There's always a loophole, honey. You should know that by now. I've found one, and I'm exercising my rights." The fury building inside me must have shown on my face because he took a step back. "Don't make this ugly, Willow. Just sell the house. We'll both walk away with a nice profit." "This is my home," I said, my voice shaking. "I rebuilt my life here after you left. I painted every room. I planted that garden. I made this place mine. And now it's time to cash out." He headed for the door, pausing with his hand on the knob. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, my lawyer files the paperwork." The door clicked shut behind him, and I sank onto the stairs, my legs suddenly weak. Through the window, I watched him climb into his shiny new Tesla, another toy probably funded by Avery's family money. My phone buzzed again. "Vada." "Hello? Earth to Willow?" I picked up the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a formal letter from his lawyer, outlining his claim to the property. The numbers made my head spin. "Change of plans," I texted Vada. "Need to see you ASAP. Emergency." Her response was immediate. "On my way. Wine or whiskey?" "Both," I replied. I walked through my house, touching the walls, the door frames, the windowsills. Every inch held memories. The kitchen where I'd learned to make pasta from scratch during those lonely post-divorce months. The living room where I'd hosted my first newly single Christmas. The garden that had become my therapy. My phone lit up with another text, this time from my sister Michaela. "Just saw Q's car leaving your street. You okay?" I stared at the message, an idea starting to form. Quentin wanted to talk about the house's value? Fine, let's talk about value. Let's show everyone exactly what kind of man was trying to take my home. "I'm okay," I texted back. "Actually, I'm thinking of having an open house next weekend. Think you could help spread the word?" The response came quickly. "Open house? Are you selling?" "No," I typed, a smile spreading across my face for the first time that morning. "Just showing off some of the house's features. Trust me." The doorbell rang again. Vada, holding 2 bottles, and wearing her "who do I need to help you bury" expression. It was time to make a plan. So you want to host an open house? Just to humiliate your ex? Vada raised an eyebrow, pouring her third glass of wine. We'd moved to the back porch, where the evening air carried the scent of my blooming gardenias. Not just to humiliate him, I said, pulling up a local realtor's number on my phone. To show everyone exactly who he is, including his fiancée. You're evil, Vada grinned. I love it. But how exactly is an open house going to accomplish that? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Isaac Warren, real estate extraordinaire, a cheerful voice announced. How can I help you today? I put the phone on speaker. Isaac, it's Willow. Remember that house you helped me decorate last year? The colonial with the killer kitchen? How could I forget? Please tell me you're not selling. That place is your masterpiece. Not selling. But I need your help with something unconventional. I explained Quentin's demands and my plan for the open house. There was a long pause. Let me get this straight, Isaac said slowly. You want to host a fake open house, invite the whole neighborhood, including your ex's new fiancé, just to expose him as a greedy bastard? Basically. Girl, I could hear the smile in his voice. I have waited my entire real estate career for something this deliciously dramatic. I'm in. Vada clapped her hands. See? Even the professionals approve. Meet me for coffee tomorrow, Isaac continued. I've got some ideas that'll make this the most memorable open house in suburban history. The next morning, I found Isaac at our local coffee shop, surrounded by papers and typing furiously on his laptop. He looked up as I approached, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Okay, here's what we know, he said as I sat down. Your ex is money-hungry, image-obsessed, and probably hasn't told his new fiancé the whole truth about your history. Definitely hasn't, I confirmed. Michaela ran into Avery at the gym last month. Apparently, Quentin told her he let me keep the house out of kindness. Isaac snorted. Kindness? After what he did? He pulled out a folder. I did some digging. Your house's value has increased by 60% since your divorce. No wonder he's circling like a vulture. Can he really claim half? I asked, the question that had been keeping me up all night. He can try, Isaac said, sliding a business card across the table. But I have a friend who specializes in property law. She says his case is weak, especially given the clear divorce settlement. This is about intimidation, not law. My phone lit up with a text from Michaela. Called everyone I know. They're all coming Saturday. This better be good. It will be, I muttered. Here's my plan. Isaac leaned forward, lowering his voice. We stage the house like a normal open house, but we'll strategically place photos and documents that tell the real story. The renovation receipts you paid for alone will raise eyebrows. And the credit card statements showing his affair? I asked, pulling out my own folder. The ones he doesn't know I kept? Isaac's eyes widened. You beautiful, prepared woman. Yes, those too. We'll make it subtle. Just enough information scattered around that people can piece it together themselves. Vada's handling the guest list, I said, scrolling through my messages. She's invited half the country club, including Avery's parents. Perfect. Isaac started typing again. I'll create a proper listing presentation, complete with the house's history, including the original ownership documents and, he paused for effect, the divorce settlement he signed. My hands shook slightly as I sipped my coffee. What if this backfires? What if I look like the bitter ex-wife? Isaac reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Honey, you're not bitter. You're protecting what's yours. There's a difference. Besides, he winked, I've seen enough real estate drama to know karma always finds a way. Speaking of karma, I pulled up my email. Quentin just sent another threat. Says if I don't respond by tomorrow, he's filing the paperwork. Perfect timing, Isaac said. Let him file. By Saturday evening, he'll wish he'd never set foot in that house again. My phone buzzed with another text, this time from my brother Benson. Are you sure about this? Maybe we should talk first. Your brother? Isaac asked, noting my frown. Yeah. He thinks I should just sell and avoid the drama. And what do you think? I looked around the coffee shop, remembering all the mornings I'd spent here after Quentin left, planning my new life. I think it's time to stop running from drama and start directing it. Isaac raised his coffee cup. To the best open house ever. To karma, I replied, clinking my cup against his. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. This is a terrible idea, Benson declared, pacing my kitchen Thursday night. You're going to start a war. A war? Michaela snorted from her perch on the counter. Quentin started the war when he tried to steal her house. I continued arranging photos on the dining room table, carefully selected memories from happier times, strategically placed next to bank statements and renovation receipts. He's not stealing anything, Benson argued. He's exercising his legal rights. Legal rights? I spun around. He signed away those rights in the divorce settlement. You were there, Benson. You saw what he did to me. And you got the house, he countered. Maybe it's time to sell, move on, start fresh somewhere new. Michaela jumped down from the counter. Are you seriously defending him right now? I'm trying to protect our sister from making a huge mistake. Benson's voice rose. You think Quentin's just going to take this public humiliation lying down? He's a lawyer, for God's sake. A lawyer who cheated on his wife while she was building his dream home? Michaela shot back. He deserves whatever's coming. The doorbell rang, interrupting their argument. Isaac walked in carrying a professional-looking presentation board and several folders. Family meeting? He asked, noting the tension. Family disagreement, I corrected. Benson thinks we should call this off. Isaac set down his materials. Because of legal concerns? Because it's childish, Benson said, and potentially dangerous. Quentin has connections. Quentin has an inflated ego and a weak legal case, Isaac interrupted, pulling out some papers. I had my lawyer friend review everything. The divorce settlement is ironclad. This isn't about law, it's about intimidation. See? Michaela gestured triumphantly. Even the professionals think Quentin's full of language, Benson warned, ever the big brother. I was going to say baloney, Michaela said innocently. My phone buzzed. Another email from Quentin's lawyer. I deleted it without reading. Look, Benson sat down at the kitchen island, his voice softening. I get it. What Quentin did was awful. But this plan, it's beneath you, Willow. No, I said quietly. What's beneath me is letting him bully me out of my home. Again. The room fell silent. We all remembered those first few weeks after discovering the affair, how Quentin had convinced me to stay at Benson's while we worked things out. By the time I realized he was just buying time to empty our accounts, it was almost too late. You didn't see her then, Michaela told Isaac. She was a shell. Quentin had her convinced everything was her fault. I remember, Benson admitted. But you're stronger now. You don't need revenge. This isn't about revenge, I said, straightening the photos on the table. It's about truth. Quentin's built this whole new life on lies. Avery deserves to know who she's really marrying. And the whole neighborhood needs to witness it? Benson asked. The whole neighborhood watched me fall apart, I replied. They can watch this too. Isaac cleared his throat. If it helps, I've done this before. Had a client whose ex tried something similar. Once everything was out in the open, he backed off completely. Sometimes sunlight really is the best disinfectant. My phone lit up with a text from Vada. RSVPs rolling in. Avery's parents confirmed. You ready for this? See? Michaela pointed at my phone. It's meant to be. The universe wants Quentin exposed. Benson stood up, shaking his head. I can't support this, but... He hesitated at the door. I'll be there, in case things go sideways. After he left, Michaela hugged me tight. He'll come around. You know how he gets. Always trying to protect everyone. Speaking of protection, Isaac pulled out a business card. I hired security for Saturday, just in case Quentin loses his cool. I stared at the dining room table, at the carefully arranged evidence of my ex-husband's betrayal. Do you think Benson's right? Am I making a huge mistake? No, Michaela said firmly. You're standing up for yourself. Finally. Besides, Isaac added, arranging his presentation materials, the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth, it's doing it with style. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from an unknown number. Avery. Looking forward to seeing your beautiful home on Saturday. Quentin's told me so much about it. I showed the message to Michaela and Isaac. Oh, honey, Michaela grinned. You have no idea what you're walking into. Save that text, Isaac advised. It'll make a nice addition to our display. Looking around my kitchen, at the evidence of my past, the support of my present, and the promise of justice to come, I finally felt ready. Saturday would change everything. Saturday arrived with perfect open house weather, sunny with a chance of karma. Isaac had transformed my home into a real estate showcase, complete with professional photos and property details mounted on elegant displays. The doorbell rang at exactly 1:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the official start time. Avery, I said, opening the door to find my ex-husband's fiancée standing there in a sundress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. You're early. I hope that's okay. She stepped inside, her designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors. I just couldn't wait to see the house Quentin designed. He talks about it constantly. Behind her, Vada, who'd been arranging refreshments in the kitchen, nearly dropped a tray of cookies. Quentin designed? I kept my voice neutral. How interesting. What exactly did he tell you about the house? Oh, everything, Avery gushed, running her hand along the kitchen island. How he picked out all the finishes, managed the contractors. He said building this house was his passion project. Veda made a choking sound that she quickly turned into a cough. Did he mention who picked out these countertops? I asked, watching her closely. He did. He said he spent weeks researching the perfect granite. Something about the veining pattern being unique? She smiled brightly. He has such an eye for detail. I caught Vada's eye. She was gripping the counter so hard her knuckles were white. Would you like to see the renovation receipts? I offered casually. I keep excellent records. Oh, I'd love to. Avery followed me to the dining room, where our carefully arranged displays waited. Quentin mentioned you helped with some of the decorating. Some of the... Vada muttered under her breath, but the doorbell rang again before she could finish. People started flowing in. Neighbors, friends, even some of Quentin's old colleagues. Isaac played the perfect host, directing traffic and pointing out the house's unique features, including the strategically placed documents. Oh my, I heard someone say near the renovation timeline display. Look at these dates. Avery was still studying the receipts, her perfectly maintained smile starting to slip. I don't understand. These are all in your name. Yes, I said simply. They are. But Quentin said... She trailed off, her eyes catching on a framed photo nearby. Me, covered in paint, renovating what would become the master bathroom. The date stamp was clear, 3 months after Quentin had moved out. The doorbell chimed again. This time, it was Avery's parents. Mom! Dad! She waved them over, but her voice had lost some of its enthusiasm. Come see the house, Quentin. The house he what, dear? Her mother asked, picking up one of Isaac's property information packets. Before Avery could answer, a murmur went through the growing crowd. I turned to see Michaela leading a group of guests through the kitchen, pointing out features with theatrical flair. And this custom backsplash? She was saying. My sister picked it out the same week she discovered the affair. Talk about retail therapy. Michaela! Benson appeared from nowhere, trying to shush her. But the damage was done. Avery's face went pale. Affair? Oh, you didn't know. Michaela's voice carried clearly across the room. It's all documented in the divorce papers. They're on display in the study, along with the credit card statements. Very educational reading. Avery's mother was already moving toward the study, her social smile replaced with something sharper. There must be some mistake, Avery said, but she was staring at the renovation receipts with new eyes. Quentin told me you two just grew apart. Would you like to see the security footage? I asked quietly. From the day I caught him with his paralegal in our bedroom? The room had grown unusually quiet. Even Isaac had stopped his real estate spiel to watch the scene unfold. I saved that footage, I continued, along with every receipt, every document, every piece of evidence showing exactly who built this house and who betrayed it. Avery's father was now reading the divorce settlement, his jaw tightening with each page. He's trying to take it from you? Avery whispered. After everything? He filed the paperwork yesterday, I confirmed, demanding half the current value. But these receipts, she gestured at the dining room table, they're all after he left, after he drained our joint accounts and moved in with Jessica, I supplied. Yes, every renovation, every improvement, every mortgage payment, all mine. The doorbell rang again. Through the window, I could see Quentin's Tesla pulling into the driveway. Perfect timing, Isaac murmured, adjusting his realtor name tag. Avery looked from the front door to the documents in her hands, then back to me. I think, she said slowly, I need to see those security tapes. Of course, I smiled. They're playing on a loop in the master bedroom, right next to the credit card statements showing where he took Jessica on their little business trips. As Avery headed upstairs with her mother, the front door opened. Quentin stepped into his perfectly orchestrated nightmare, completely unaware that his carefully constructed world was about to crumble. The real show was about to begin. What the hell is this? Quentin froze in the doorway, taking in the crowd of familiar faces. His confident smile faltered when he spotted Isaac's real estate signs. Welcome to our open house. Isaac stepped forward, professional smile firmly in place. Please, feel free to look around. We have some fascinating historical documents on display. Where's Avery? Quentin demanded, scanning the room. Her car's outside. Upstairs, Michaela chirped, watching some very interesting home videos. The security camera footage is particularly gripping. The color drained from Quentin's face. Willow, he growled, pushing through the crowd toward me. What have you done? Just showing off the house, I said sweetly. You know, the one you claim to have designed? A nearby group of neighbors turned to stare, recognition dawning on their faces. These were the same people who'd brought me casseroles after Quentin left, who'd watched me rebuild my life brick by brick. This is completely inappropriate, Quentin hissed, grabbing my arm. We need to talk. Now. Take your hands off her. Benson materialized beside us, his voice low and dangerous. The security guard Isaac hired also stepped closer. Quentin released me, straightening his designer jacket. This is a private matter. Nothing's private anymore, Vada called out, waving a stack of papers. Hey, everyone, who wants to see the original divorce settlement? The one where he signed away all rights to the house? That document is confidential. Quentin's lawyer voice was slipping, revealing the panic underneath. Actually, Isaac interjected, divorce settlements are public record. Speaking of records, he gestured to the dining room. We have quite the collection of renovation receipts, all in Willow's name, interestingly enough. The crowd was growing larger, people drawn to the unfolding drama like moths to flame. I spotted several of Quentin's country club friends whispering among themselves. You can't do this, Quentin said, but his voice had lost its authority. This is harassment. Quentin? Avery's voice cut through the murmurs. She stood at the top of the stairs, her mother beside her, both women's faces rigid with anger. We need to talk. Honey, whatever she's told you. She didn't tell me anything, Avery interrupted, descending the stairs. You did. Through your lies. She held up her phone, showing a paused video. Would you like to explain why there's footage of you and Jessica in this house, dated 3 days before our first date? The room fell silent. Someone in the back whispered, Oh, snap! That's not... I can explain. Quentin looked around wildly, finally spotting Avery's father emerging from the study, divorce papers in hand. Young man, Avery's father said, his voice carrying the weight of old money and influence. "I believe we need to discuss the prenuptial agreement my lawyer drew up, specifically the morality clause." "Sir, this is all a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Avery's mother cut in, "is that we believed you were a man of integrity." Quentin spun toward me, his composed facade cracking completely. "You planned this. You orchestrated this whole thing just to destroy me." "No, Quentin," I said calmly. "You destroyed yourself. I'm just providing the evidence." "Evidence of what?" he sneered. "That you're a bitter ex-wife who can't move on?" "Evidence that you're trying to steal my house," I corrected. "Again. But this time, everyone knows the truth. How you drained our accounts, how you lied about building this place, how you're trying to profit from my hard work." A flash went off. Someone was recording on their phone. Quentin's eyes darted around the room, finally registering the hostile faces surrounding him. "This isn't over," he threatened, backing toward the door. "Oh, it is," Avery said. She pulled off her engagement ring and dropped it into his jacket pocket. "By the way, my father's firm will be very interested in how you handle client accounts, given your history with joint finances." The crowd parted as Quentin stumbled backward, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him. He yanked open the front door, nearly running into the local news reporter Michaela had invited. "Mr. Rodriguez," the reporter called out. "Care to comment on the property dispute?" The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Through them, we watched Quentin practically sprint to his Tesla. "Well," Isaac said into the silence that followed, "I believe that concludes our formal presentation. The refreshment table is in the kitchen, and all displays will remain up for another hour." As the crowd broke into excited chatter, Avery approached me. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly. "I had no idea." "Neither did I at first," I replied. "But now you do. That's what matters." She nodded, then managed a small smile. "Beautiful house, by the way. You did an amazing job with it." As she left with her parents, Vada appeared at my side. "Think he'll still try to claim half?" I watched Quentin's car speed away, taking his threats and lies with it. Somehow, I doubt it. The house seemed to settle around us, as if finally shrugging off the last traces of its painful past. This was my home, and now everyone knew it. The aftermath of Quentin's exit was anything but quiet. My house had transformed into a buzzing hive of gossip and revelations, with clusters of people huddled around each display of evidence. "Did you see his face when Avery mentioned the security footage?" A woman in tennis whites whispered loudly to her friend. "Priceless!" Isaac was in his element, guiding groups through the house like a museum curator. "And here," he gestured to the kitchen, "is where Willow installed the custom cabinetry, after completely refinancing the house in her name alone." My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Messages poured in from people who couldn't make it, demanding details. The local community Facebook group was already lighting up with snippets of what had happened. "You might want to see this," Michaela said, holding up her phone. On the screen was a post from Jessica, Quentin's former paralegal. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. He lied to me too." Before I could respond, the front door burst open again. Quentin had returned, but this time he wasn't alone. His lawyer, Marcus, followed him in, looking distinctly uncomfortable. "This ends now," Quentin announced, his voice shaking with rage. "Marcus, show her the injunction." Marcus cleared his throat. "Actually, Quentin, given what I've just witnessed." "Show her." "I'm withdrawing as your counsel," Marcus said firmly, "and I strongly advise you to leave." The crowd pressed closer, phones raised. Someone was definitely live streaming this. "You can't withdraw," Quentin sputtered. "We have a solid case." "We had a case based on your version of events," Marcus corrected. "These documents tell a very different story." He turned to me. "Mrs. Holmes, I apologize for any distress my office may have caused you." "This is ridiculous," Quentin shouted. "She orchestrated this whole circus to humiliate me." "No," Avery's father stepped forward. "You humiliated yourself, and now you're making it worse." Sir, please. Quentin's tone changed instantly, becoming pleading. We can discuss this. There's nothing to discuss. Avery appeared beside her father. Except perhaps with the Bar Association. I wonder what they'd think about an attorney who files false claims. The security guard moved closer to Quentin, who was starting to look trapped. You think this makes you the victim? He turned to me, desperation in his eyes. You think this little show proves anything? It proves everything, I said quietly. Every receipt, every document, every video shows exactly who you are. And now, everyone knows. I built this house. No, I cut him off. You destroyed our marriage in this house. I rebuilt it, alone, and I have the papers to prove it. Papers that will hold up beautifully in court, Isaac added cheerfully. Should you decide to pursue your claim? Quentin looked around wildly, finally seeing what he'd walked into. A room full of witnesses, documentation of his lies, and several recording phones. You'll regret this, he threatened, but his voice cracked. The only regret, Benson spoke up, would be letting you take one more thing from my sister. Quentin, Marcus said firmly, we're leaving, now. But Quentin wasn't done. In a last, desperate move, he grabbed one of the display boards, sending documents scattering across the floor. The security guard moved instantly, but not before Vada stepped forward, her wineglass tipping, accidentally, onto Quentin's expensive suit. Oops, she said sweetly. Red wine is such a nightmare to get out. Almost as bad as lipstick on collar shirts, right? The reference to his affair wasn't lost on anyone. A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. This isn't over, Quentin said again, but this time no one was listening. Marcus practically dragged him toward the door. If you say one more word, I'll report you to the bar myself. As they left, I heard Marcus mutter, You're lucky if she doesn't sue you for harassment. The door closed behind them, and for a moment there was complete silence. Then someone started clapping. The applause spread through the room, punctuated by cheers and whistles. I felt hands patting my back, heard voices offering support and congratulations. Well, Isaac said, straightening his name tag, I believe that's what we call a successful showing. Very successful, Avery's father agreed, though I suspect my daughter's wedding plans might need some adjusting. Dad! Avery rolled her eyes, but she was smiling. I think I dodged a bullet. My phone buzzed again. A message from Marcus. Withdrawal papers filed. Claim against property withdrawn. My sincere apologies. I showed the message to Vada, who raised her nearly empty wineglass. To Karma! To Karma! The room echoed. As the crowd began to thin, I looked around my house, my undisputed, fully mine house, and felt the last weight of Quentin's threats lift from my shoulders. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served with wine, witnesses, and irrefutable evidence. The sun was setting by the time the last guests left, casting long shadows across my victory battlefield. Empty wine glasses and scattered documents told the story of the afternoon's drama. I can't believe you actually pulled it off, Benson said, helping me collect the evidence displays. I really thought this would backfire. Have a little faith in your sister, Michaela called from the kitchen, where she was loading the dishwasher. Though I have to admit, the wine stain was a nice touch, Vada. Pure instinct, Vada grinned, scrolling through her phone. Oh my God, you guys need to see the community Facebook page. Someone posted the whole thing. The comments are savage. My phone rang. Isaac's name flashing on the screen. You'll never guess who just called me, he said without preamble. Avery's father. He wants to list their country club property. Says he prefers working with agents who have, quote, a strong moral compass. Karma keeps on giving, Vada whispered loudly. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Jessica, Quentin's former paralegal, looking nervous and clutching a manila envelope. I know I'm probably the last person you want to see, she said quickly, but I have something you should have. She thrust the envelope at me. It's everything. Emails, messages, documents from when? From that time, in case he tries anything else. Benson moved protectively closer. Why are you doing this? Jessica wrapped her arms around herself. Because he did the same thing to me. Made promises, told lies. I was young and stupid, and by the time I figured it out, she shook her head. Let's just say you're not the only one he tried to manipulate financially. Come in, I said, surprising everyone, including myself. We have leftover wine. 20 minutes later, Jessica was sitting at my kitchen island, adding her own documents to our collection. Look at these dates, Michaela said, spreading out papers. He was playing the same game with the firm's junior partners. 3 of them quit because of him, Jessica confirmed. But no one could prove anything. He's very careful with official records. Was careful, Vada corrected, holding up her phone. This video of him threatening Willow today has over 10,000 views already. My phone buzzed with a text from Avery. Having dinner with my parents. Dad's already called his golf buddies about Quinton. Let's just say his social calendar is about to get very empty. The country club crowd can be brutal, Jessica nodded. Once you're out, you're out. Speaking of out, Benson picked up one of Jessica's documents. These expense reports. Is this what I think it is? Jessica smiled grimly. Creative accounting? Yes. I kept copies of everything after he tried to pin some financial discrepancies on me. Does the firm know? I asked. They will now. She pulled out her phone, showing us an email draft. I'm sending this to the managing partners tonight, with copies of everything. Vada raised her glass. Hell hath no fury like multiple women scorned. The doorbell rang yet again. This time it was a delivery. A massive bouquet of flowers from Isaac, with a card reading, Congratulations on the successful showing. P.S. 3 neighbors already called about listing their homes. You're a real estate legend. So what happens now? Benson asked, helping me find a vase for the flowers. Now? I looked around my kitchen, at the evidence of Quinton's deceptions spread across the counter, at the friends who'd helped me expose them. Now I finish the bathroom renovation I've been planning. Maybe paint the guest room. That's it? Michaela looked disappointed. No more drama? I think we've had enough drama, I said. But then my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Marcus, Quinton's now former lawyer. FYI. He's being called to a firm meeting tomorrow morning. Thought you should know your open house had some unexpected professional consequences. I showed the message to Jessica, who immediately fired off her email to the partners. Perfect timing, she said, standing up. Thank you, by the way, for letting me be part of this. It feels liberating, Vada suggested. Exactly. After Jessica left, carrying copies of our evidence, just in case, Benson pulled me aside. I'm sorry I doubted you, he said quietly. You were right. Some things need to be brought into the light. Speaking of light, Michaela interrupted, wait until you see what's trending on Twitter. We gathered around her phone, watching as clips of Quinton's meltdown circulated with hashtags like Yo Karma Open House and Revenge Renovation. You know what this means? Vada said, refilling our glasses one last time. You're not just keeping your house. You've made sure he can never try this with anyone else. Looking around my kitchen, at the evidence of justice served, at the flowers celebrating victory, at the faces of those who stood by me, I felt something settle into place. This house wasn't just mine anymore. It was a symbol of standing up to bullies, of exposing lies, of women supporting women. And somewhere across town, Quinton was learning that karma doesn't just knock. Sometimes it holds an open house. The morning sun streamed through my kitchen windows, catching the fresh paint on the walls. I sipped my coffee, scrolling through emails when the doorbell rang. Special delivery, Isaac announced, waving a newspaper. You made the lifestyle section. The headline read, Local Open House Exposes More Than Just Real Estate. Below was a photo of my home, looking stately and innocent, belying the drama it had witnessed. Page 3 is better, Isaac said, flipping the paper. Law firm announces partnership changes. I scanned the article. Quinton's name featured prominently, along with words like administrative leave and internal investigation. Karma's working overtime, Vada said, letting herself in through the back door. Did you see the country club newsletter? They're reviewing membership standards. My phone buzzed. A message from Jessica. Partners meeting just ended. He's out. They're auditing everything. Good morning, Michaela burst in, carrying paint samples. Ready to finally tackle that guest room? I'm thinking bold colors. Something that screams victory. The doorbell chimed again. This time it was Avery, looking polished despite everything. I hope it's okay that I stopped by, she said, holding a gift bag. I wanted to return something. Inside the bag was a familiar-looking granite sample, the one Quentin had claimed he picked out. Found this in his office, Avery explained, along with some other things that probably belong to you. Keep it, I said. Consider it a warning label for future relationships. She laughed. A real laugh, not the society giggle I'd heard at the open house. Oh, I've learned my lesson. Actually, that's partly why I'm here. Dad's hosting a charity event next month. It's for a women's shelter that helps victims of financial abuse. We'd love it if you'd speak. Me? You stood up to him, Avery said simply. You exposed the truth. Do you know how many women have reached out to me since the video went viral? They all have similar stories. Speaking of stories, Isaac interrupted, checking his phone. The real estate board wants you to know that your house's value just increased another 10%. Apparently, infamy is good for property values. The doorbell rang yet again. Benson walked in, carrying coffee for everyone. Guess who I just saw at the courthouse? He asked, distributing cups. Quentin, looking very unlawyer-like, being served with papers. Apparently, the firm's junior partners are filing a class action. Jessica's evidence really opened the floodgates, Vada noted, pulling up more news on her phone. It wasn't just her evidence, I said. It was everyone. All of us standing together, sharing our stories, exposing the truth. Speaking of sharing, Michaela held up the paint samples. We really need to decide on these colors. Actually, I looked around my kitchen at the people who'd helped me reclaim not just my house, but my power. I have a better idea. I grabbed a piece of paper and started sketching. What if we turned the guest room into a home office? I could use it to help other women navigate their own legal battles. Perfect, Avery exclaimed. Dad knows some excellent attorneys who'd love to help. And I know some real estate agents who specialize in fresh starts, Isaac added. Count me in, Jessica texted back when I shared the idea. I've got plenty of documentation experience. This is better than revenge, Vada declared. This is revolution. My phone lit up with another message, from Quentin's number. Everyone froze as I opened it. I'm sorry, it read simply. Wow, Michaela breathed. Never thought I'd see that. I deleted the message without responding. Some apologies come too late, and some bridges are better left burned. So, I picked up a paint sample. Who's ready to help me create something new? Everyone raised their coffee cups. To new beginnings, Avery said. To karma, Vada added. To truth, Benson contributed. To all of the above, I finished, looking around my kitchen, no longer just a room where I'd rebuilt my life, but a place where I could help others rebuild theirs. The morning sun caught the granite countertop, making the veining shimmer. I remembered standing here years ago, picking out this exact pattern, believing I was building a dream with someone who shared it. Instead, I'd built something better, a fortress of truth, a beacon for others, and a home that was unquestionably, irrevocably mine. First things first, Michaela said, spreading out the paint samples. Every revolution needs the right color scheme. As my friends debated paint colors and office layouts, I smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth or serving karma. Sometimes it's building something new from the ashes of what was lost. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you get to help others do the same. 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 Help others do the same.